The tomatoes felt wrong in my hands. Too soft. Bruised beneath their perfect red skin, I set them back in the wooden crate and moved down the narrow aisle of the farmer's market, my worn canvas bag hanging empty against my hip. Saturday mornings here had become my ritual, the 1 hour of the week where I could pretend my life was normal, that I was just another young mother buying overpriced organic vegetables while my son chattered about dinosaurs. "Mama, look! Big truck!" Noah's small hand tugged at my coat, his 4-year-old voice cutting through the ambient noise of vendors hawking their wares and shoppers negotiating prices. I followed his pointing finger, my heart already sinking. It wasn't just a big truck. It was a black Mercedes G-Wagon. Windows tinted so dark they looked like portals into nothing. The vehicle sat idling at the market's edge, its engine a low purr that somehow carried over every other sound. 2 men in dark suits flanked the rear passenger door, their postures too rigid, their eyes scanning the crowd with practiced efficiency. My breath caught. No, not here. Not now. I grabbed Noah's hand tighter than I meant to, and he whimpered. "Sorry, baby," I whispered, loosening my grip but not letting go. My pulse hammered against my throat as I tried to steer us toward the opposite end of the market, toward the flower stalls where I could lose myself in a sea of buckets overflowing with dahlias and sunflowers. But Noah had other plans. He wrenched free with the slippery determination only a 4-year-old possessed, and darted toward a stand displaying wooden toy trains. I lurched after him, my sneakers slapping against the wet pavement. It had rained earlier, and everything smelled of petrichor and crushed herbs from the market stalls. "Noah, wait!" He didn't wait. He never did. He had his father's stubborn streak, though he'd never know it. Could never know it. I caught up to him just as he reached for a bright red engine, his small fingers stretching. The vendor, an elderly man with kind eyes, smiled down at him. "Careful there, little man. That one's special." "How much?" I asked, already mentally calculating whether I could afford it. Probably not. The tips from my double shift at the diner last night would barely cover our rent. For him, $10. I reached into my pocket, counting crumpled bills when I felt it. That prickling sensation at the base of my skull, the one that used to warn me when danger was close, when he was close. The air changed. It always did when Dante Moretti entered a space. The temperature seemed to drop, or maybe it was just that everyone else's warmth fled in his presence. I didn't want to look up. Every instinct screamed at me to grab Noah and run, but my body betrayed me, going rigid with a fear so old it lived in my bones. I smelled him first. Bergamot and cedarwood, expensive and dark, a scent that dragged me back 5 years in an instant, to silk sheets and whispered promises. To the night I'd fled his penthouse with nothing but the clothes on my back and a secret growing inside me. Elena. His voice. God. His voice. It slid over my name like a caress and a threat. Velvet wrapped around a blade. I still didn't look up. Instead, I focused on Noah, who had abandoned the toy train and was now staring at the tall man who'd appeared beside us. "Mama, who's that?" My hand shook as I finally inevitably raised my eyes. Dante Moretti hadn't changed. 5 years. And he looked exactly as I remembered. Devastatingly beautiful in a way that made looking at him almost painful. Sharp cheekbones, a jaw that could have been carved from marble, and those eyes. Dark as espresso, capable of melting you or destroying you, sometimes both at once. His black hair was shorter now, styled back from his face in a way that emphasized the stark elegance of his features. He wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than I made in 6 months, tailored so perfectly it looked like a second skin. But it was his expression that made my stomach drop. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at Noah. "Who's this?" Dante asked, and his voice had gone soft, dangerous soft, the kind of soft that preceded violence. "No one," I said too quickly, stepping between them. "We were just leaving." Noah peeked around my legs, fascinated. Children didn't understand danger the way adults did. They didn't see the predator beneath the expensive suit, the killer hiding behind that beautiful face. "I'm Noah. I'm 4. I felt Dante go absolutely still behind me. The air itself seemed to stop moving. When I glanced back at him, his eyes had locked onto Noah's face with an intensity that made my knees weak. He was calculating, counting back, doing the math I'd prayed he'd never have the chance to do. Noah had his father's eyes, dark, almost black, with those same long lashes. He had my nose, my mouth, but those eyes were all Moretti. 4, Dante repeated, and the word fell between us like a stone into still water. We need to go. I grabbed Noah's hand again, abandoning any pretense of buying the toy train. The vendor looked between us, confused by the sudden tension. Dante moved then, not toward me but to block my path. He didn't touch me. He'd never needed to. His presence alone was enough to cage me in. Running again, Kara? The endearment hit like a slap. He'd called me that once, whispered it against my skin in the dark. Kara Mia, my dear one, before I'd discovered what he really was, before I'd seen the blood on his hands. I'm not running. I'm leaving. There's a difference. Is there? He tilted his head, and something flickered in his eyes. Hurt, maybe, buried deep beneath layers of ice. You're good at leaving. 5 years ago, you left without a word. No note, no explanation, just gone. You know why I left? My voice came out shakier than I wanted. Noah was watching us now, his small hand gripping mine tighter. He could sense my fear, even if he couldn't understand it. Do I? Dante's gaze dropped to Noah again, then back to me. I'm starting to think I don't know anything at all. One of his men, the tall one with the scar bisecting his left eyebrow, approached and murmured something in Italian. Dante held up a hand, silencing him without breaking eye contact with me. The dismissal was absolute. Even his guards knew better than to interrupt when Dante Moretti was focused on something. Or someone. How old is he really, Elena? 4 years? Or 4 years and... He paused, counting. 7 months? My silence was answer enough. His jaw tightened, the only outward sign of whatever storm was building inside him. Get in the car. No. That wasn't a request. And I'm not one of your soldiers. I lifted my chin, trying to summon the courage I'd had 5 years ago, the night I'd walked away from him. You can't just order me around. Can't I? He stepped closer, and I caught another whiff of that scent, felt the heat radiating from his body. You've been hiding my son from me for 4 years. He's not... Don't. The word cracked like a whip. Don't lie to me. Not about this. Noah started to cry. The raised voices, the tension. It was too much for him. I immediately crouched down, gathering him against my chest. Shh, baby. It's okay. We're okay. But we weren't okay. We'd never be okay again. I felt Dante crouch beside us, and my entire body went on high alert. He reached out slowly, as if approaching a skittish animal, and brushed a tear from Noah's cheek. The gesture was so gentle, so at odds with everything I knew about him, that my throat tightened. Hey, Dante said softly, his voice losing that dangerous edge. Hey, it's all right, don't cry. Noah hiccuped, studying this stranger with red-rimmed eyes. You made my mama scared. Something crossed Dante's face then. Regret, maybe, or pain. I know. I'm sorry. He looked at me over Noah's head, and in his eyes I saw a promise. A threat. But your mama and I need to talk, and you. He focused back on Noah. You need somewhere safe to play while the grown-ups talk. Do you like cars? Noah's tears slowed. Big cars? The biggest. Dante stood, then extended a hand to help me up. I ignored it, rising on my own, but he just smiled. A sharp, knowing thing that said he'd let that small rebellion slide for now. Elena. My name in his mouth was still a prayer and a curse. You can get in the car willingly, or I can have Marco carry you. Your choice. I looked at the scared guard, Marco, who stood 10 feet away, ready to follow any order. I looked at the Mercedes, engine still running, escape still possible. Then I looked at Noah, who was watching everything with wide, confused eyes. I'd spent 5 years running, 5 years building a life in the shadows. Always looking over my shoulder, always afraid this moment would come. It had come. And Dante Moretti, the man I'd loved and feared in equal measure, the father of my son, the most dangerous man in the city, wasn't going to let me run again. Fine, I whispered. But he doesn't leave my sight. Dante's smile widened, victorious and dark. Wouldn't dream of it, Kara. You're both coming with me. As Marco opened the car door and Dante's hand pressed against the small of my back, possessive, inescapable, I realized my mistake. I'd thought the worst that could happen was him finding us. I'd been wrong. The worst was what would happen now that he had. The interior of the Mercedes smelled like leather and money, a scent so familiar it made my chest ache. Noah sat between us on the back seat, his small body a buffer that felt simultaneously protective and desperately insufficient. Dante hadn't stopped looking at him since we'd gotten in, studying every feature, cataloging every similarity, every gesture that marked Noah as undeniably his. I kept my gaze fixed on the window as we pulled away from the market, watching the familiar streets of my neighborhood blur past. Marco drove with the calm efficiency of someone who'd done this 1,000 times, while the other guard sat in the passenger seat, one hand resting near his hip, where I knew a weapon was holstered. "Where are we going?" I asked, hating how small my voice sounded. "Somewhere we can talk without an audience." Dante's attention finally shifted to me, and the weight of it made my skin prickle. "Somewhere private. You mean somewhere I can't run?" His lips curved, but it wasn't quite a smile. "You're learning." Noah had pressed himself against my side, one small hand clutching the fabric of my coat. He was being so quiet, so unlike his usual chattering self, and I knew he could feel the danger even if he couldn't name it. Children were perceptive that way. They understood predators on an instinctual level. "Is he your friend, Mama?" Noah whispered, loud enough that Dante heard. Before I could answer, Dante spoke. "I'd like to be." His voice had gentled again, that same surprising tenderness he'd shown at the market. "What do you like to do, Noah?" Noah peeked at him, curious despite his fear. "I like dinosaurs, and trains, and drawing." "Drawing? What do you draw?" "Dragons, mostly, and knights. Mama says I'm really good." "I bet you are." Dante reached into his jacket, and I tensed, my hand moving to shield Noah. Dante noticed, pausing. "Easy, Elena. I'm not going to hurt him." He pulled out his phone instead, tapped something on the screen, then held it out to Noah. "Do you know what kind of car this is?" Noah leaned forward, fascinated. The screen showed a bright red Ferrari. "It's so shiny." "It's a Ferrari 488. Very fast, very powerful. Would you like to see one in person?" Noah's eyes went wide. "Really?" "I have several. Different colors. You can pick which one you want to see." And just like that, Dante was winning him over. Of course he was. Dante Moretti was a man who understood leverage, understood how to find what someone wanted and use it, even if that someone was 4 years old. "Don't," I said quietly. "Don't do this." Dante's eyes met mine over Noah's head. "Do what? Talk to my son?" "Bribe him. Manipulate him." "I'm being kind to him, Elena. There's a difference." His jaw tightened, though I understand why you might not remember what that looks like for me. The barb hit its mark. I turned away, blinking against the sudden sting in my eyes. I wouldn't cry. Not in front of him. Not after all this time. We drove through increasingly upscale neighborhoods, the buildings growing taller, the cars parked along the streets more expensive. My stomach knotted. I'd known this world once, briefly, before I'd understood what it cost, before I'd learned that Dante's wealth came soaked in blood. The Mercedes turned into an underground parking garage, the kind that required a key card for access. We descended 2 levels before Marco parked in a spot marked Reserved, D. Moretti. The other guard got out first, scanning the area before opening Dante's door. "Come on," Dante said, already stepping out. He held his hand out to Noah. "Let's go see those cars I promised you." Noah looked at me for permission. I wanted to say no, wanted to grab him and run even though I knew it was pointless. We were in Dante's world now, on his territory. There was no escape. "It's okay, baby," I lied, helping him out of the car. The parking garage was pristine, almost sterile in its cleanliness. Our footsteps echoed off concrete as Dante led us toward a private elevator. Another keycard. Another locked door only he could open. Everything about his life was controlled, secured, designed to keep threats out and assets in. I was an asset now. We both were. The elevator opened directly into a penthouse that stole my breath. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, the afternoon sun streaming in to illuminate hardwood floors and minimalist furniture that screamed expensive taste. It wasn't the same penthouse I remembered. That one had been downtown, all dark woods and masculine edges. This one was lighter, more open, but no less luxurious. Wow, Noah breathed, his fear forgotten in the face of such splendor. Dante crouched down to Noah's level again, and I noticed how naturally the movement came to him, as if he'd been waiting his whole life to kneel for this child. The cars are in a private garage on the top floor. Marco can take you to see them while your mother and I talk. Would you like that? Can Mama come too? Soon, I promise. I just need to talk to her first, okay? Grown-up stuff. Noah looked uncertain, but the lure of the Ferraris was strong. Okay, but just for a little bit. Just for a little bit, Dante agreed. He glanced at Marco. Stay with him. Don't let him out of your sight. Marco nodded, extending a hand to Noah. Come on, kid. Let me show you something cool. I watched them walk toward another elevator, every instinct screaming at me to follow, but Dante's hand closed around my wrist. Not hard, not yet, but firm enough to make his point. He's safe, Elena. Safer with Marco than he's ever been with you. I whirled on him. How dare you? How dare I? His voice rose, the control I'd seen him maintain shattering like glass. How dare you? 5 years, Elena. 5 fucking years you kept him from me. Because you're a monster. The words exploded out of me, all the fear and anger and grief I'd carried for so long finally finding voice. Because you kill people, Dante. Because you run guns and drugs and God knows what else. Because I couldn't let my son grow up in that world. Our son. He stepped closer, backing me against the window. He's my son. Mine. And you stole him from me. I saved him from you. His hand slammed against the glass beside my head, making me flinch. But when he spoke again, his voice had gone quiet. Deadly quiet. You didn't save him, Kara. You condemned him. Do you know what it's like out there for a woman alone with a child? No protection? No money? No family? I managed. Did you? His free hand came up to cut my face, thumb brushing my cheekbone with a gentleness that felt obscene given the fury in his eyes. You look exhausted. Thin. Those clothes you're wearing are worn. When's the last time you bought yourself something new? When's the last time you didn't have to count pennies to put food on the table? I jerked my face away from his touch. We were fine. Liar. He leaned in, his breath ghosting across my ear. I could have given you everything. Given him everything. Instead, you chose poverty and fear and running. Why, Elena? Why did you really leave? I told you why. No. His nose brushed my temple, and I hated my body for remembering this, for responding to his nearness despite everything. You left because you were scared, but not of me. Of yourself. Of what you felt when you were with me. Stop. Of how much you liked my darkness. How it called to something dark in you. That's not true. But my voice shook, and we both heard it. He pulled back just enough to look at me, his eyes searching mine. The night you left, I tore this city apart looking for you. Every contact, every favor owed, every resource I had, I used it all. And you just vanished, like you'd never existed. I had help. The words slipped out before I could stop them. His expression went absolutely glacial. Who? I pressed my lips together, but he gripped my chin, forcing me to meet his gaze. Who helped you leave me, Elena? Who dared? It doesn't matter now. It matters to me. His thumb traced my lower lip, a gesture that should have been tender but felt like a brand. Give me a name. No. Elena, you'll kill them. That's what you do. Someone crosses you, betrays you, and you eliminate them. Yes, he agreed simply. I do. So you'd better hope whoever helped you is already dead. Because if they're not, he leaned in until our lips almost touched. I will hunt them down, and I will make them suffer for taking you from me. My heart hammered so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. This was the Dante I remembered, the one I'd fled. Cold, ruthless, absolutely uncompromising when it came to loyalty and betrayal. But then his hand softened on my face, his thumb stroking my jaw in a way that made my breath catch. "I missed you," he whispered, and the raw honesty in his voice nearly broke me. "Every day for 5 years I missed you. I thought you were dead. I mourned you, Dante. And now I find out you were alive, that you had my son, that you kept him from me." His forehead dropped to mine, and I could feel him trembling, with rage or grief, or something worse. "Do you have any idea what that does to a man like me? I'm sorry." The apology felt inadequate, but it was all I had. "Sorry?" He laughed, bitter and broken. "You're sorry. Well, that fixes everything, doesn't it?" He released me abruptly, turning away to pace toward the windows. His hands shoved into his pockets, shoulders rigid with tension. Outside, the city sprawled beneath us. His kingdom, his empire built on violence and fear. "Here's what's going to happen," he said without turning around. "You and Noah are moving in here. Today. Right now." "What?" "No, absolutely not. I'm not asking." He glanced back at me, and his eyes held no warmth. "You made your choice 5 years ago. You chose to run, to hide, to keep my son from me. Now I'm making mine. You can't just... I can do whatever I want, Elena. That's what you never understood. There are no limits for men like me. No rules except the ones I make." Terror clawed up my throat. "You're insane." "Maybe." He turned fully to face me, and the smile on his lips was pure predator. "Or maybe I'm just a father who wants to know his son. A man who wants back what was stolen from him. I'm not a possession. Aren't you?" He crossed the distance between us in 3 strides, caging me against the window again. "You were mine once. You wore my marks, slept in my bed, moaned my name. And then you left. But you know what, Kara? You never stopped being mine. You just forgot for a little while." His hand splayed across my stomach, right where our son had grown, and I gasped. The touch burned through my thin shirt, possessive and claiming. "This body gave me a son. You think I'd ever let you go after that?" "Please," I whispered, hating the plea in my voice. "Please don't do this. Too late." His lips brushed my ear. "You came back into my life today. You and Noah both. And I don't give back what's mine." The elevator dinged, and we both turned to see Noah running out, his face flushed with excitement. "Mama! Mama! I saw the red one and the yellow one, and there's a black one that Marco says goes really, really fast." Dante stepped back, his expression transforming instantly into something warm, almost gentle. "Did you like them?" "They're so cool." Noah ran to him without hesitation, grabbing his hand. "Can we see them again?" "Anytime you want." Dante's fingers closed around Noah's small hand, and the gesture was so protective, so inherently paternal, that my eyes burned. "In fact, this is your home now. You can see them whenever you like." Noah's head whipped toward me. "We're staying here?" I opened my mouth to say no, to explain that this was temporary, that we were leaving as soon as possible. But Dante's eyes locked on mine, dark and absolute, and I saw the promise there. If I fought him, he'd win. He always won. If I ran again, he'd find me. And this time, he wouldn't be gentle about bringing me back. "Yes, baby," I heard myself say, the words tasting like ash. "We're staying." Noah cheered, already running off to explore the massive living room. Marco followed at a discreet distance, a silent shadow ensuring his safety. Dante stepped close again, his hand finding the small of my back. "Good girl," he murmured, and the praise felt like poison and honey mixed together. "I knew you'd see reason. I hate you," I whispered. "I know." His lips brushed my temple. "But you'll learn to love me again. You and Noah both. I'll make sure of it." And as the sun set over the city, turning the windows into sheets of gold and crimson, I realized I'd traded one prison for another. This one was just more beautiful. The first week in Dante's penthouse passed in a strange, surreal blur. Noah adapted with the resilience only children possessed, treating the entire situation like an extended adventure. He'd claimed one of the guest bedrooms, a space larger than our entire old apartment, and filled it with toys that appeared as if by magic. Expensive building sets, art supplies, books about dinosaurs and space. Dante had made one phone call, and by the next morning, the room looked like a toy store had exploded. I, on the other hand, felt like a ghost haunting rooms too beautiful for someone like me. Dante had assigned me the master suite, insisting he'd take another room down the hall. "Until you're ready," he'd said, and the implication hung heavy between us. Ready for what? To share his bed again? To pretend the last 5 years hadn't happened? It was Tuesday afternoon when everything shifted. I was in the kitchen, a massive space with marble countertops and appliances I was afraid to touch, attempting to make Noah's lunch. The housekeeper, a quiet woman named Rosa, had tried to take over, but I'd waved her away. I needed something normal, something that reminded me I was still myself, and not just another pretty thing Dante had collected. Noah sat at the breakfast bar, swinging his legs and coloring a picture of what he claimed was a robot dragon, his tongue poked out in concentration, dark eyes focused on staying within the lines. The elevator doors opened, and I knew without looking that Dante had returned. The air changed when he entered a space, grew heavier, more charged. I heard his footsteps, heard Marco's quieter ones following behind. "Dante!" Noah scrambled off his stool, running to him with the easy affection he'd developed over the past week. It terrified me, how quickly he'd attached himself to his father, how naturally Dante had slipped into the role. "Hey, Piccolo." Dante caught him, lifting him up with an ease that spoke of growing practice. "What are you making?" "A robot dragon. See, it has fire breath and lasers. Formidable combination." Dante's eyes found mine over Noah's head, and something in his expression made my stomach drop. "Elena, we need to talk. Rosa can watch Noah for a bit. I'm right in the middle of—" "Now, please." The steel beneath the politeness was unmistakable. I set down the butter knife I'd been using to spread peanut butter, wiping my hands on a dish towel. "Noah, baby, stay with Rosa, okay? But Mama—" "I'll be right back, I promise." Dante set Noah down, ruffled his hair, then gestured toward his office, a room I'd avoided all week. I followed, awareness prickling down my spine. Marco stationed himself outside the door as it closed, and the click of the lock felt ominous. The office was pure Dante. Dark wood, leather furniture, a desk that probably cost more than a car. But it was the wall of monitors behind his desk that caught my attention. Security feeds, dozens of them, showing various locations throughout the building and beyond. "Sit." He pointed to one of the leather chairs facing his desk. "I'd rather stand." His jaw tightened. "Elena, sit." I sat, hating myself for the compliance, for the way my body still responded to his authority. Dante moved behind his desk but didn't sit. Instead, he braced his hands on the polished surface and leaned forward, his eyes boring into mine. "I need you to tell me about Noah's father." My heart stopped. "What?" "The man you told Noah was his father, the one whose name is on the birth certificate." His voice was conversational, almost casual, but I heard the danger underneath. "I want to know everything. There is no—" "Don't." The word cracked like a gunshot. "I've had my people looking into your life for the past week. Every detail, every transaction, every person you've had contact with. And I know you filed the birth certificate listing a Thomas Mitchell as the father. Dead, conveniently, from a car accident 3 months before Noah was born. Blood drained from my face. You had no right." "I have every right." His hand slammed on the desk, making me flinch. "He's my son, my blood, and you put some dead stranger's name on his birth certificate." "I had to." I shot to my feet, anger overriding fear. "What was I supposed to do, Dante? Put your name? The name of the most notorious crime boss in the city? You think that would have kept him safe? Safe from what? From you. From your world. From the people who'd use him to get to you." Silence fell, thick and suffocating. Dante stared at me, his chest rising and falling with barely controlled fury. Then, slowly, his expression shifted into something worse than anger. Understanding. "You thought I wouldn't protect him," he said quietly. You thought being my son would make him a target. It would have. It does. So you invented a dead man, created a whole false identity. He moved around the desk, approaching me with predatory grace. Thomas Mitchell. Worked construction, died in a single-car accident on Route 9. Very thorough, Elena. Almost believed it myself. Except for one problem. I backed up until my legs hit the chair. What problem? Thomas Mitchell never existed. Oh, there was a death certificate, a work history, even a social media presence. But it was all fabricated, expertly, I'll admit. The kind of fabrication that takes serious money and serious connections. He stopped inches from me, his scent overwhelming my senses. So I'll ask again. Who helped you? My mouth went dry. I don't know what Was it the Russos? His hand shot out, gripping my chin. The Irish? One of my own men? No one from your world. Then who? He leaned in, his lips brushing my ear. Tell me, Kara, and maybe I'll let them live. Keep lying, and I'll burn this city to the ground until I find them. You're hurting me. It wasn't true. His grip was firm but not painful, but I needed him to back off, needed space to think. He released me immediately, stepping back. I would never hurt you. You're threatening to kill someone I care about. How is that not hurting me? Because whoever they are, they helped you steal 4 years of my son's life. 4 years I can never get back. First words, first steps, first everything. Gone. His voice cracked on the last word, and I saw the grief beneath the rage. Do you understand what you took from me? Guilt twisted in my chest, sharp and unexpected. I was protecting him. From his own father. Yes. And now? He spread his arms, gesturing to the office, the penthouse beyond. Is he in danger here, with Marco and 6 other men watching his every move, with more security than the president? With a father who would die before letting anyone touch him? I wanted to say yes, wanted to maintain that he was the threat, that I'd been right to run. But the truth was more complicated. In the past week, I'd watched Dante with Noah, seen the gentleness, the patience, the absolute devotion that had appeared the moment he'd known Noah was his. You're a criminal, I said weakly. I'm a businessman with unconventional methods. You've killed people. Yes. No hesitation, no shame. People who threatened what's mine, people who broke their word, people who deserved it. But I've never harmed a child, never harmed an innocent, and I sure as hell would never harm my own son. What about me? The question slipped out before I could stop it. Would you harm me? His expression softened fractionally. Never, Elena. No matter how angry I am, no matter what you've done, I could never hurt you. Then let us go. No. The word was absolute. That's the one thing I can't do, won't do. You and Noah are mine now, forever. Accept it. Before I could respond, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, his expression darkening. We're not done with this conversation, but I have a meeting I can't miss. Marco will stay with you and Noah. Don't leave the penthouse. I'm not a prisoner. Aren't you? He paused at the door, looking back. Face it, Kara. You imprisoned yourself the day you decided to run. I'm just making the cage more comfortable. The door closed behind him, and I sank into the chair, my legs no longer willing to hold me. Through the walls, I could hear Noah's laughter, the sound so pure and innocent it made my chest ache. What had I done? In trying to protect him from one danger, had I delivered him into another? The next day, Dante surprised us both. Get dressed, he announced at breakfast, his tone brooking no argument. Something nice. We're going out. Noah perked up immediately. Where? It's a surprise. Dante's eyes met mine across the table. For both of you. An hour later, we were in the Mercedes again, Marco driving while another guard followed in a second vehicle. I'd dressed in one of the outfits that had appeared in my closet, a soft cream sweater and dark jeans that fit perfectly because of course Dante had somehow known my size. Noah wore new clothes too, looking like a miniature model in his button-down shirt and tiny jacket. We drove to the upscale part of the city, past boutiques and galleries I'd never been able to afford. When Marco pulled up in front of a massive toy store, the kind with elaborate window displays and doormen. Noah's eyes went wide as saucers. "Are we really going in there?" he breathed. "We are." Dante unbuckled him, lifting him out. "And you can pick anything you want." "Anything?" "Anything." I grabbed Dante's arm before he could head inside. "This is too much. It's not enough. It will never be enough to make up for the years I missed." His hand covered mine, warm and solid. "Let me do this, Elena. Let me be his father." How could I argue with that? How could I deny Noah this moment of pure joy? The store was a wonderland, 3 floors of toys, games, and experiences designed to make children lose their minds with excitement. Noah ran from display to display, his laughter echoing off the high ceilings. Other shoppers stared, at the guards flanking us, at Dante's obvious wealth, at the way he indulged Noah's every whim without hesitation. "This one, Dante. Can I get this one?" "Of course." "Marco, make sure they wrap it." "And this?" "Yes." "Ooh, and—" "Whatever you want, Piccolo." I watched them together, my heart doing complicated things in my chest. Dante was patient, attentive, genuinely interested in Noah's rambling explanations of why each toy was essential, and Noah was blooming under his father's attention like a flower finding sun. On the 3rd floor, while Noah was distracted by a massive train set, Dante pulled me aside into the book section. "You're spoiling him," I said, trying to maintain some maternal authority. "I'm loving him. There's a difference." He picked up a picture book, studying the cover. My father never took me to toy stores, never played with me. He was building an empire, and children were inconvenient. "Dante, I won't be like him, Elena. Noah will know he's loved. He'll know he's wanted." His eyes found mine. "Even if his mother hates me for it, I don't hate you." The admission felt dangerous. "No?" He set the book down, stepping closer. "Then what do you feel?" "I don't know anymore. It was the truth. 5 years ago I was terrified of what you were, what you did, terrified of loving you anyway. And now I'm still terrified, but for different reasons." His hand came up to cup my cheek, thumb stroking across my skin. "What reasons?" "Because Noah loves you already, because I can see you're good to him, because maybe—" I swallowed hard. "Maybe I was wrong about some things, not everything," he admitted quietly. "I am what you thought I was, Elena. I do terrible things, but never to my family, never to the people I love. Do you love him? Truly? More than my own life?" The conviction in his voice was absolute. From the moment I realized he was mine, everything changed. My priorities, my plans, everything. He's my son, my heir, my heart walking around outside my body. "What about me?" I whispered. "Where do I fit in this new world of yours?" Dante leaned in, his forehead resting against mine. "You're the mother of my child. That makes you untouchable, sacred. No one will ever harm you, disrespect you, or question your place at my side." "That's not the same as loving me." "No," he agreed. "It's more complicated than that. I loved you 5 years ago, loved you so much it nearly destroyed me when you left. And now—" His breath ghosted across my lips. "Now I don't know if what I feel is love or obsession or something darker. Dante, but I know this. You're mine. You've always been mine, and I'm never letting you go again." Before I could respond, Noah came running around the corner, dragging a store employee behind him. "Mama! Dante! They have a whole section of dinosaur stuff. Come see?" The moment shattered. Dante pulled back, his mask of controlled politeness sliding back into place. "Lead the way, Piccolo." As we followed Noah deeper into the store, I felt the weight of Dante's words settling over me like a shroud. "You're mine." Present tense. Absolute, unchangeable. I'd thought running would save us. Instead, it had only delayed the inevitable. Dante Moretti didn't lose what belonged to him. And whether I liked it or not, I belonged to him now. We both did. 3 weeks into our new life, and the cracks in my resistance were starting to show. It began with small things, the way Dante would leave fresh flowers on the kitchen counter every morning. Peonies, always peonies, because he remembered they were my favorite. The way he'd rearranged his entire schedule to have breakfast with Noah, reading him stories while I pretended not to watch from the doorway. The way his hand would find the small of my back when we walked, possessive but somehow reassuring. I hated that I was getting used to it. Hated that some mornings I woke up and forgot, just for a moment, that this wasn't real, that we weren't a real family. Thursday evening brought everything to a head. Dante had insisted on taking us to dinner at an exclusive restaurant, the kind with no menu, where the chef decided what you ate based on some mysterious culinary intuition. Noah was excited about the fancy dinner, dressed in a little suit that made him look heartbreakingly grown up. I wore a black dress that had appeared in my closet, simple but elegant, the kind of thing that whispered money rather than shouted it. Marco drove us, as always, with 2 additional cars following. The security was constant, oppressive, a reminder that we lived in Dante's world now, where danger was always lurking just beyond the tinted windows. The restaurant occupied the top floor of a historic building, all exposed brick and Edison bulbs and waiters who moved like dancers. The maitre d' greeted Dante by name, ushering us to a private corner table with a view of the city lights. "This is so cool," Noah whispered, eyes wide as he took in the elegant surroundings. "Only the best for my family." Dante's hand rested on Noah's shoulder, and the word family hit me like a physical blow. We were halfway through the first course, some delicate fish preparation that melted on the tongue, when she walked in. I felt Dante tense before I saw her. That immediate shift from relaxed to alert, the way his eyes tracked movement across the restaurant. I turned to look and immediately understood. She was stunning. Tall, with honey blonde hair that fell in perfect waves past her shoulders, wearing a red dress that hugged curves most women would kill for. But it was the way she moved that caught attention. Confident, sensual, deliberately provocative. Every man in the restaurant watched her cross the floor. She was heading straight for our table. "Dante," she purred, her voice like silk and smoke. "It's been too long." "Valentina." His tone was flat, devoid of warmth. "I'm having dinner with my family." Her eyes flicked to me, dismissive, then to Noah with barely concealed surprise. "Family? How domestic." "Not really your style, is it? People change." His hand moved under the table to grip my knee, firm and possessive. "Do they?" She laughed, the sound calculated to be alluring. "Remember that week in Monaco? You didn't seem very interested in domesticity then." My stomach clenched. Monaco. I'd run away 6 months before whatever had happened in Monaco. 6 months into my pregnancy, alone and terrified, while Dante had been... what? Moving on? Replacing me? That was a long time ago. Dante's voice held a warning edge. And not appropriate conversation for right now. "Oh, come on. I'm sure you're..." She paused, eyes raking over me with obvious disdain. "Companion understands that you had a life before her. She's not my companion. She's the mother of my son." Each word dropped like a stone. "And you need to leave. Now." Valentina's perfect smile faltered. "Dante, don't be like this. I just wanted to say hello." "You've said it. Marco." The guard appeared as if summoned by telepathy, his presence making Valentina take a step back. She shot me one last venomous look before turning on her designer heels and stalking away. The silence at our table was deafening. "Who was that?" Noah asked, confused by the tension. "No one important, Piccolo." Dante's hand was still on my knee, his grip almost painful now. "Just someone from my past. She was pretty. Not as pretty as your mama." The compliment should have warmed me. Instead, it felt hollow. Because Valentina had been beautiful, sophisticated, exactly the kind of woman who belonged in Dante's world. And I was... what? A waitress wearing a borrowed dress, playing at being someone I wasn't. I excused myself to the bathroom, needing space to breathe. The restaurant's restroom was as elegant as everything else. Marble and gold fixtures and an attendant who handed me a linen towel. I stared at my reflection, seeing the cracks forming in the facade I'd been maintaining. The door opened behind me. I expected another diner but got Dante instead. "This is the women's room," I said, not turning around. "I don't care." He locked the door, and suddenly the spacious bathroom felt tiny. "Are you all right?" Fine. Elena, look at me. I met his eyes in the mirror. What do you want me to say, Dante? That it doesn't bother me to meet one of your conquests? That I don't care you were with other women while I was pregnant with your child? I didn't know you were pregnant. Would it have mattered? The question came out sharper than I intended. You clearly moved on just fine. He spun me around, caging me against the sink. I didn't move on. I tried to forget. There's a difference. Is there? Valentina meant nothing. None of them did. They were bodies, distractions, desperate attempts to stop thinking about you for 5 goddamn minutes. His hands framed my face, forcing me to look at him. But it never worked. Every woman I touched, I saw your face. Every night I woke up reaching for you. Don't. My voice cracked. Don't do this. Do what? Tell you the truth? You want honesty, Elena? Fine. Yes, I slept with other women after you left. Dozens of them. Trying to fill the hole you left behind. Trying to prove to myself that you weren't special. That I could replace you. His thumb traced my lower lip. Want to know what I learned? I couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. That no one tastes like you. No one sounds like you. No one fits against me the way you do. His forehead pressed to mine. You ruined me, Kara. Completely and utterly ruined me for anyone else. Dante, and now you're here, in my home. Sleeping 20 feet from my bed, and it's torture. Every night I lie awake knowing you're there. Knowing I could walk down that hall and... He stopped, jaw clenching. But I won't. Not until you want me to. Not until you ask. I won't ask. Won't you? His lips brushed my jaw, feather light. Your body remembers me, Elena. I can see it in the way you shiver when I touch you. The way your breath catches when I'm close. He was right, and I hated him for it. Hated that my body was a traitor, responding to his nearness despite everything my mind knew. This isn't fair, I whispered. Life isn't fair, Kara. If it was, you never would have left me. Noah would have grown up knowing his father. We would have been a family from the start. His hand slid down to my waist, pulling me flush against him. But we're here now, and I'm done pretending I don't want you. Done acting like you're just Noah's mother and nothing more. What are you saying? I'm saying I want you back. In my bed, in my life, in every way that matters. His nose traced the column of my throat, and I felt his breath hot against my skin. I'm saying I'm in love with you, Elena. Still. Always. Despite everything. The confession hit like a tidal wave. You can't. I can. I do, and you love me too, even if you won't admit it. I don't. Liar. He pulled back, his eyes searching mine with an intensity that stripped me bare. You love me, and it terrifies you. Because loving me means accepting this world. Accepting what I am. And you're not sure you can do that. Tears burned behind my eyes. I can't be what you need, Dante. I'm not sophisticated like Valentina. Not comfortable with violence and danger. I'm just... everything. He kissed me then, hard and demanding, swallowing my protests. His hands tangled in my hair, tilting my head back as he claimed my mouth with a possessiveness that made my knees weak. You're everything I need, Elena. The only thing I've ever needed. I should have pushed him away. Should have maintained the distance I'd been carefully constructing. But God help me. I kissed him back. 5 years of longing, of missing him, of loving him despite everything. It all poured into that kiss. When he finally pulled back, we were both breathing hard. Come back to me, he whispered against my lips. Fully. Completely. Be mine again. I'm scared. I know, but I've got you, Kara. I've always got you. His hand stroked up and down my back, soothing. No one will ever hurt you or Noah. I swear it on my life. What if you're the one who hurts us? Pain flashed across his face. Then I'll spend every day making it right. But Elena, I'm not my father. I won't abandon my family. I won't choose power over the people I love. A knock on the door interrupted us. Boss? Marco's voice came through. Everything okay? Fine, Dante called back, not taking his eyes off me. Give us a minute. The kid's asking for his mom. Reality crashed back. Noah. We'd left him alone at the table, confused and probably scared by the tension. "We need to go back," I said, trying to step around Dante. He caught my wrist. "This conversation isn't over, I know. Tonight, after Noah's asleep, we talk, really talk, about everything." I nodded because what choice did I have? We couldn't keep dancing around this forever. When we returned to the table, Noah was drawing on the paper tablecloth the waiters had provided, happily occupied. But his face lit up when he saw us. "Mama! Look, I drew our family." He held up the paper proudly. My heart clenched. He'd drawn 3 stick figures holding hands, a tall one labeled Dante, a medium one labeled Mama, and a small one labeled me. Above them, he'd drawn a house and a smiling sun. "It's beautiful, baby," I managed, my voice thick. Dante's hand found mine under the table, lacing our fingers together. "It's perfect," he said, and there was so much emotion in his voice it made my chest ache. This was what Noah wanted, a family, a father and mother who loved each other, who loved him. And I'd spent 5 years denying him that because of my fear. Maybe it was time to stop running. Maybe it was time to face the truth I'd been avoiding. That despite everything, despite the danger and the darkness, I'd never stopped loving Dante Moretti. And maybe, just maybe, love could be enough. We put Noah to bed together that night. Dante read him 3 stories, doing silly voices that made our son giggle uncontrollably. I sat in the corner chair watching them, feeling something shift inside me. When Noah finally drifted off, Dante kissed his forehead with such tenderness it brought tears to my eyes. "Sweet dreams, Piccolo," he whispered. Outside Noah's room, Dante took my hand. "My office. We need to talk." I followed, my heart hammering. This was it. The moment where everything would change, one way or another. In his office, he poured us both a drink. Whiskey, neat, the good stuff he kept for important occasions. I took the glass with shaking hands. "I need you to understand something," he began, standing by the windows overlooking the city. "My world is dangerous. I won't lie about that. There are people who'd hurt you and Noah to get to me. Rivals, enemies, ambitious underlings who think they can take what's mine. I know. But..." He turned to face me. "I have more resources, more power, more reach than any of them. The security around you isn't just for show, Elena. It's a fortress. No one gets through. No one even tries anymore because they know what I do to people who threaten my family. What do you do?" I wasn't sure I wanted the answer. His smile was dark. "Things that would keep you up at night, things that ensure the message is clear. Touch what's mine, and you don't just die. You disappear. Your entire organization disappears. Your family, your friends, anyone who knew you, they forget you existed." I should have been horrified, and part of me was. But another part, a part I didn't like to acknowledge, found it reassuring. That Noah and I were protected by someone this ruthless, this absolute in his devotion. "I don't want you to become like your father," I said quietly. "I won't. Because I have you. You and Noah. You're my conscience, my reason to be better than the monster people think I am." He crossed to me, setting his glass aside so he could take my hands. "But I need to know you're with me, really with me. Not just staying because you're afraid or because you think Noah needs me. I need you to choose this, choose us. And if I can't, if I'm not strong enough for this world, then I'll make you strong enough. I'll protect you, guide you, teach you everything you need to know to survive here." His grip tightened. "But Elena, I think you're stronger than you realize. You survived 5 years on your own, raising a child with no help, no money, always looking over your shoulder. That takes strength most people don't have. I was terrified every day, and yet you kept going, kept Noah safe, kept him happy." He pulled me closer. "That's not weakness, Kara. That's the strongest thing I've ever seen." The tears I'd been holding back finally spilled over. "I don't know how to do this, how to be what you need. You already are. You just have to stop fighting it." He wiped my tears with his thumbs, his touch unbearably gentle. "Stay with me. Not because you have to, because you want to. Because you love me. I do love you," I admitted, the words tearing out of me. God help me. I never stopped. Even when I hated you. Even when I was terrified of you, I loved you. His kiss was different this time, softer, sweeter, full of promise rather than possession. When he pulled back, his eyes were bright with emotion. Then stay. Be my wife. My partner. The mother of my children, plural, because I want more with you. I want everything. Dante. Make this
Marry
real,
me.
Elena. Make us a real family. The proposal should have terrified me. Should have sent me running again. But looking into his eyes, seeing the vulnerability beneath the power, the love beneath the darkness, I couldn't find it in me to refuse. Yes, I whispered. Yes. His smile was blinding, transforming his entire face. He kissed me again, deeper this time, his hands sliding into my hair as he poured everything he felt into that kiss. And I let him, surrendering to the inevitability of us, to the love I'd tried so hard to deny. When we finally broke apart, both breathless, he pressed his forehead to mine. Thank you, he murmured, for giving me another chance, for trusting me with our son, for loving me despite everything. Just promise me something, I said. Anything. Promise you'll always choose us, that no matter what happens in your world, Noah and I come first. Always. The vow was absolute. You and Noah are my world now, Elena. Everything else is just business. And standing there in his arms, surrounded by the evidence of his power and wealth, I finally believed him. I'd spent 5 years running from Dante Moretti. It was time to stop running and start living. The wedding happened faster than I'd imagined possible. But then again, Dante Moretti didn't do anything slowly once he'd made up his mind. 2 months after my acceptance, we stood in a small chapel on his private estate, a property I hadn't even known existed until he'd taken me there to plan the ceremony. The estate sprawled across 50 acres of pristine countryside, far enough from the city to feel like another world entirely. Gardens, a lake, woods where Noah could run and play without fear. This will be our real home, Dante had said, watching Noah chase butterflies through the gardens. The penthouse is for business, but here we can be a family. The chapel was intimate, holding only 30 people, Dante's most trusted men and their families, Rosa and a few other staff who'd become fixtures in our lives, and one surprise guest who'd made me cry the moment I saw her. Sarah, I'd breathed, rushing into my old friend's arms. Did you really think I'd miss this? She'd pulled back, examining me with knowing eyes. Though I have to say, when you disappeared 5 years ago, I didn't expect the next time I'd see you would be at your wedding to the most dangerous man in the city. Sarah had been my roommate before Dante, the one person I'd trusted with pieces of the truth. Not everything. I'd never told her who Noah's father was, but enough that she'd helped me disappear when I'd needed to run. She was the help I'd never named to Dante, and thankfully, he'd accepted her presence without question. He loves me, I'd said, and realized I meant it. Really loves me. I can see that. The way he looks at you. She'd shaken her head, smiling, like you're the only thing in the world that matters. Just be careful, okay? Men like him, their love can be consuming. I know. But I think maybe I need to be consumed. Now, standing in the chapel wearing a simple ivory dress that somehow cost more than my entire previous wardrobe, I watched Dante wait for me at the altar. He wore a black suit tailored to perfection, his hair slicked back, his dark eyes locked on me with an intensity that made my breath catch. Noah stood beside him as ring-bearer, practically vibrating with excitement in his miniature suit. He'd been ecstatic when we'd told him about the wedding, immediately declaring it the best day ever. Marco stood as best man, his usual stoic expression softened with something almost like approval. Other faces I'd come to know over the past months filled the pews. Luca, who headed Dante's security. Antonio, his second in command. Maria, Rosa's daughter who'd become Noah's favorite playmate. The pianist began playing, and Sarah squeezed my hand. Ready? Yes, I said, and meant it. I walked down the aisle alone, no father to give me away, no family except the one I'd built. But I didn't feel alone. Dante's eyes never left mine, his expression holding such raw emotion it made my heart ache. When I reached him, he took my hands, and I felt the slight tremor in his fingers. Dante Moretti, the man who faced down rival crime lords without flinching, was nervous. "You're shaking," I whispered. "I'm terrified," he admitted quietly, his voice for my ears only. "Terrified I'll wake up and this will be a dream. Terrified you'll change your mind. I won't. I'm here. I'm yours." His grip tightened. "Forever?" "Forever." The priest began the ceremony, his words washing over us like a blessing. I barely heard them, too focused on Dante's face, on the way his thumb stroked circles on my hand, on the weight of what we were doing. This wasn't just a wedding. It was a claiming, a binding, a promise that went deeper than any legal document. When it came time for vows, Dante surprised me by producing a folded piece of paper from his jacket pocket. "I wrote something," he said, his voice rough. "I need you to hear this." He unfolded the paper, but his eyes stayed on mine as he spoke. "Elena, 5 years ago, I lost you. I thought I'd lost everything that mattered. I became harder, colder, more ruthless than I'd ever been, because if I couldn't have love, I'd have power. If I couldn't have you, I'd have control over everything else." He paused, emotion thickening his voice, "But then you came back, you and Noah. And suddenly I remembered what it felt like to be human, to want something more than fear and respect, to want to be worthy of the family standing before me." Tears blurred my vision. Noah reached up to pat Dante's hand, and the gesture made several people in the audience sigh. "I can't promise I'll be perfect," Dante continued. "I can't promise my world won't be dangerous or complicated, but I can promise that I will love you and our son with everything I have, that I will protect you both with my last breath, that I will choose you, every single day, over everything else in my life." He folded the paper, tucking it away. "You are my redemption, Elena, my second chance. And I will spend the rest of my life proving I deserve you." I was crying openly now, not caring that mascara was probably running down my face. When the priest nodded at me, I realized I was supposed to say my own vows. I hadn't written anything, hadn't prepared. But standing there, looking at the man who'd turned my world upside down twice, the words came easily. "Dante, I spent 5 years running from you. From what you made me feel, from the intensity of loving someone like you. I told myself I was protecting Noah, protecting myself, but the truth is, I was just scared." I squeezed his hands, scared of how much I needed you, scared that loving you would consume me, change me into someone I didn't recognize. "And now?" he asked softly. "Now I realize that being consumed by you isn't losing myself. It's finding the parts of me I was too afraid to embrace. The strength, the courage, the capacity to love someone completely, despite their darkness." I glanced at Noah, then back at Dante. "You gave me our son. You gave me a home, security, a family. But more than that, you gave me permission to be brave enough to stay. Elena, I love you, Dante Moretti, not despite what you are, but including it. All of it. The darkness and the light, and I promise to stand beside you, to be your partner in this life we're building, to give our children, yes, plural, a family built on love strong enough to weather anything." The priest barely finished pronouncing us married before Dante pulled me into his arms, kissing me with a passion that made the audience erupt in cheers and applause. Noah jumped up and down, shouting, "Yay, yay," at the top of his lungs. When Dante finally released me, his eyes were bright with unshed tears. "My wife," he murmured, testing the words. "My husband," I replied, and felt the rightness of it settle into my bones. The reception was held in the estate's ballroom, a space I hadn't even known existed until the day before. Crystal chandeliers, silk drapes, tables laden with food and flowers. It was elegant without being ostentatious, intimate despite the grandeur. Dante kept me close all evening, his hand never leaving my waist or the small of my back. Possessive, yes, but also protective, claiming me in front of everyone who mattered in his world. "You're mine now," he whispered during our first dance, his lips brushing my ear. "Legally, officially mine, I was already yours," I reminded him. "I know, but now everyone else knows too." His hand splayed across my lower back, pulling me flush against him. Now there's no question, no doubt. Elena Moretti. My wife. Getting possessive, Mr. Moretti? Always. About you. Always. We danced through 3 songs, lost in our own world, before Noah tugged on Dante's sleeve. Can I dance with Mama? Dante immediately stepped back, bowing formally. Of course, Piccolo. But only because you're my son. Any other man asks to dance with my wife and will have problems. I laughed, scooping Noah up to dance with him. He wrapped his arms around my neck, chattering excitedly about the cake, the music, how Maria had taught him a new game. Over his shoulder, I watched Dante talking with Marco and Antonio, his expression serious. Business, always business. But every few seconds, his eyes would find mine, checking, making sure I was still there. Later, after Noah had fallen asleep in one of the estate's many bedrooms, Sarah found me on the terrace overlooking the gardens. So, she said, handing me a glass of champagne, how does it feel to be Mrs. Moretti? Terrifying. Exhilarating. Right. I sipped the champagne, watching the stars. Is that strange? No. I think it's exactly what it should feel like. She bumped her shoulder against mine. For what it's worth, I think you made the right choice. That man worships you. He does, doesn't he? The wonder in my voice made her laugh. Just promise me something, Sarah said, her tone turning serious. Promise you won't lose yourself completely. That you'll stay Elena, not just become Dante's wife. I promise. Though I think being his wife is part of who I am now, part of who I was meant to be, then I'm happy for you. She hugged me tight. You deserve this. After everything, you deserve to be loved like that. Dante found me an hour later, after the last guests had departed. He stood in the terrace doorway, jacket discarded, tie loosened, looking rumpled and human and devastatingly handsome. Ready for bed, Mrs. Moretti? My heart skipped. Our first night as husband and wife. Technically our second time, but who's counting? He crossed to me, pulling me into his arms. I had Rosa prepare the master suite. Our suite now. Dante, Nerves suddenly assailed me. It had been 5 years since we'd been intimate. What if it wasn't the same? What if I disappointed him? He sensed my hesitation, tipping my chin up. We don't have to do anything tonight. We can just sleep. I'm content to hold you. No, I want this, want you. I bit my lip. It's been a long time. For me too. At my surprised look, he elaborated. I haven't been with anyone since you came back. Couldn't. It felt like betraying what we were building. The confession warmed me from the inside out. Take me to bed, husband. His eyes darkened with desire. With pleasure, wife. The master suite was stunning, all soft grays and whites, with a bed large enough to sleep 5 people. Candles flickered on every surface, casting dancing shadows. Rose petals scattered across the pristine white duvet. Rosa? I guessed. She's a romantic. Dante closed the door, locking it with a finality that made my pulse race. But I can't say I mind. He approached slowly, giving me time to object, to change my mind. But I didn't want to. I wanted this. Wanted him. Wanted to seal our union in the most intimate way possible. His hands found the zipper of my dress, lowering it with aching slowness. The fabric whispered down my body, pooling at my feet. I stood before him in just my white lace lingerie, feeling vulnerable and powerful all at once. Beautiful, he breathed, his eyes tracking over every inch of exposed skin. So fucking beautiful. Your turn. I helped him remove his shirt, my hands trembling slightly as I worked each button free. When I pushed the fabric off his shoulders, revealing the muscled expanse of his chest, my mouth went dry. He'd always been beautiful, but maturity had added definition, power, scars too, evidence of the dangerous life he led. I traced one that ran across his ribs, and he caught my hand. Not tonight. Tonight isn't about my scars or my sins. It's about us. About love. He kissed me then, deep and slow, his hands exploring my body with reverent attention. Every touch was a claim, a promise, a vow beyond the ones we'd spoken earlier. When he finally laid me on the bed, surrounded by candlelight and rose petals, I felt like a bride from some fairy tale. Except my prince was dark and dangerous. And I loved him all the more for it. I love you, he murmured against my skin, his lips tracing paths of fire. My Elena. My wife. Mine. Yours, I agreed, pulling him down to me. Always yours. We made love slowly, tenderly, relearning each other's bodies after 5 years apart. And when we finally came together, it felt like coming home, like finding the missing piece of myself I'd been searching for. Afterward, wrapped in his arms with my head on his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart, I felt a peace I'd never experienced before. Thank you, Dante whispered into the darkness. For what? For staying. For giving me this. For making me a husband and father. His arms tightened around me. For being brave enough to love me. Thank you for being worth loving. We fell asleep like that, tangled together, two broken people who'd somehow made each other whole. 6 months later, I stood in Noah's new bedroom, his third, because he'd insisted on a room for the big kid I am now, watching Dante teach our son how to tie his shoes. Loop, swoop, and pull, Dante said patiently, demonstrating again. Loop, swoop, and pull, Noah repeated, his tongue poking out in concentration as he tried to mimic the movement. My hand rested on my slightly rounded stomach, where our second child grew. A girl this time, according to the ultrasound. Dante had cried when we'd found out. Actually cried. Then immediately started planning her nursery. She'll need the room next to ours, he'd insisted, so we can hear if she cries. Dante, we have monitors. I don't care. I want her close. Now, watching him with Noah, I marveled at the transformation. Dante Moretti, the feared crime boss, had become the most devoted father I'd ever seen. He never missed a bedtime, never failed to read stories or play dinosaurs or teach Noah new things. And with me, he was everything. Lover, partner, friend. He'd kept every promise he'd made, choosing us over business repeatedly, showing me through actions that we truly were his priority. Mama, I did it! Noah held up his foot, shoe perfectly tied. That's wonderful, baby. Dante rose, crossing to me. His hand joined mine on my stomach, feeling for kicks. How's our Principessa today? Active. I think she's going to be a fighter like her father. God, I hope not. One of me is enough. He kissed my temple. I'd rather she takes after you. Beautiful, strong, brave. You're getting soft, Mr. Moretti. Only for you, Mrs. Moretti. Only for you. Marco appeared in the doorway, his expression apologetic. Boss, we have a situation. Dante's entire demeanor shifted, the dangerous man sliding back into place. What kind of situation? The Russians are making noise again, trying to move in on the docks. I felt tension coil through Dante's body, but when he looked at me, his eyes were soft. I need to handle this, I know. I'll be back by dinner, I promise. Be careful. He kissed me, deep and claiming. Always. I have too much to come home to now. After he left, Noah climbed onto my lap, careful of my stomach. Is Dante going to be okay? He's going to be fine, baby. Your father is very good at what he does. 'Cause he's strong and smart, right? Right. And he loves us. Yes, he does. Very, very much. Noah settled against me, content. I'm glad he's my papa, even if I didn't meet him until I was 4. Me too, baby. Me too. That evening, true to his word, Dante returned just as Rosa was setting dinner on the table. He had a bruise forming on his jaw and blood on his cuff, but his smile when he saw us was pure sunshine. Papa! Noah launched himself at Dante, who caught him easily. Hey, Piccolo, were you good for Mama today? So good. I tied my shoes 3 more times. That's my boy. He kissed Noah's head, then set him down to come to me. His hands framed my face, his kiss gentle despite the violence I knew he'd dealt with today. I missed you. You were only gone 4 hours. 4 hours too long. His hand settled on my stomach again. That protective gesture I'd grown to love. You and our children are my whole world, Elena. Everything I do, every decision I make, it's for this. For us. I know. And I did. I'd finally learned to trust in his love, in the life we'd built together. Yes, his world was dangerous. There were threats and rivals and violence. But within the fortress of his devotion, Noah and I were safe, protected, cherished. I'd spent 5 years running from Dante Moretti, afraid of what loving him would cost. Now, standing in our home with his hand on our growing daughter and his son chattering about his day, I realized the truth. Loving Dante hadn't cost me anything. It had given me everything. My family, my home, my heart. And as we sat down to dinner together, husband, wife, and son, with another child on the way, I knew I'd finally found where I belonged. Not in the shadows, running and hiding, but here, in the light, with the man who'd shown me that even darkness could be beautiful when it was born from love. Elena? Dante's voice pulled me from my thoughts. Yes? Thank you. For this, for them, for us. His eyes held everything he felt, all the love and devotion and fierce protectiveness that defined him, for giving me a reason to be more than what I was. I reached across the table, taking his hand. Thank you for being worth the risk. Noah, oblivious to the emotional moment, held up his glass of milk. Can we toast? To what, Piccolo? Dante asked. To family, 'cause we're the best family ever. Dante and I shared a look, then raised our glasses. Wine for us? Milk for Noah. To family, we said in unison. And as we clinked glasses, sealing the promise we'd made to each other and to our children, I knew with absolute certainty that we would be okay. Because love, real, fierce, uncompromising love,